Hey there, friends. David Paulides CanAm Missing Project, copyrighted edition for our video channel. Thanks for being here. This is a Missing Persons edition, and this is the Truckers series. A couple of things that has come up in private emails. First of all, I have no idea why the comments have been shut down by YouTube. It's one of the most frustrating things I have ever encountered in any business venture, anywhere, anyhow, anytime. I've talked to many people about it, and others have suffered a similar fate. There's no really way to fight it. We contacted there's a management link between a content provider, us, and YouTube. We contacted that individual. We relayed our concerns. We relayed three big concerns. Number one, why are subscribers continually unsubscribed without their knowledge and without their consent? One. Number two, why have the comments section been shut down? And they know it's a problem because there's always like 10, 15 people that somehow are able to get through and make a comment. We're not getting the normal 300 to 500 comments that we normally get. I want you to understand that I'm for you, and I'm a big advocate for you. This takes a huge amount of my time. And I know you probably don't understand it, but we could be putting these in books. We're not doing it. We're giving them to you for free. It's not costing you anything. It's costing us a lot of time. And if we are continually losing subscribers and watch time, we've got to leave. If you look at the number of comments we've had in the last 3 or 4 videos, compared to before, we've lost 30% of our watch time. When people haven't been able to comment, either YouTube is decreasing the amount of credit we're getting for watch time, or there's a direct correlation between comments and watch time. That's a huge drop. Huge. Nobody can survive that, including me. Now, I have some friends that are much smarter, much wiser, much more technology oriented than me that started their own website. And it's probably a $50,000 ordeal to get there. And what they've done is they've put their work up on that site and charged a per month fee. Now to get there, it's probably going to take me 3 or 4 months worth of work if I do this. Now I know, you don't have to tell me. I know many, many, many of you will not be able to watch. I get that. This is purely a business decision on my part. If we are losing subscribers by being on a platform and we're not getting subscribers allowed back in, and that platform is permanently trying to get rid of subscribers on a daily basis, I have to be an idiot to stay here. I want you to understand, it's not about you. It's about trying to survive here and get new people. I explain this with a heavy heart because I don't know what else to do. I've talked to a lot of people on YouTube who have experienced the exact same thing. So I don't know. I'm frustrated as all heck. Yeah. So that's my issue with YouTube right now. Rumble's going really well. I'm putting new newscasts up there as fast as I can. Subscriber base is slowly building, and I'm sure we'll get there sooner than later. But Rumble is an option for the news, and it's been working. I will never put this on Rumble, and the reason being is that it would be just a complete losing proposition. Rumble pays about For every $5 I make here on YouTube, I make like 6 cents on Rumble. It doesn't even pay its own bills. So I'm not going to do that. I've got to go to a platform where I can at least get paid for my time and get reimbursed for the expenses associated with doing this. Otherwise, I shut it all down and I just go back to putting out a book every 6 months. But this was a way that Ben saw for opening up a venue to bring new people into our knowledge base. And I thank God for what Ben did for me. That's why I don't want to leave. It was his vision to come here. All right, let's start with the missing people. I got 2 cases today. Missing truckers. First case is a man named Robert Rowland, 33 years old. Went missing January 6, 1934. This is a very, very young case, near the beginning when all of this started. Very young. Young meaning in the 30s. Mr. Roland was married, had 2 kids, and lived east of Oklahoma City in a place called Nakoma Park. Now, this is Oklahoma City. His residence was east of the city in the park. Let me tell you something about this area. I know Oklahoma City pretty darn well. In fact, one of my best friends grew up outside of Oklahoma City. I'll tell you a story. He was a young boy. He's coming home from school. He was by himself on a lonely road, which is the way it was when he was a kid, which was before me. But he's coming home from school. And he said, Dave, I've only told a handful of people this. I was standing there on the street and one of those classic cylindrical UFOs comes out of nowhere and zooms up and is just in front of me as I'm looking up at the street. I look up at it. The next thing you know, I'm on my front porch. He said, I think I was 8 or 9 years old. I didn't tell anybody until I was much older because I didn't want him to think I was crazy. But he said, Dave, I'm 100% sure I was abducted. So, I won't tell you who that is, but it's one of the most credible people I know in the world. And one of these days I'll tell a story. But that's my story for Oklahoma. So anyhow, on January 6, 1934, Robert Roland was working for a company called the Green Stamp Laundry. And he was a truck driver for them. And he was making numerous deliveries throughout Oklahoma City. Well, at the end of the day, he didn't return. The company supervisor got concerned, called his wife. Wife said, no, I don't know anything about it. He hasn't come home. It's like 8 or 9 o'clock. So the next day, he still hadn't come home. His wife had called in a missing persons report. Truck company confirmed that. And then the truck company decided to go out and drive the route to figure out where Robert might be, where the truck might be, which was something that would stand out. So as they're driving about 2/3, 3/4 of the way through his day, almost done, at 600 North Wisconsin Avenue in Oklahoma City, they find his truck. And let me read you exactly what the article stated. They stated that the truck was locked from the inside with one bundle of laundry left in the vehicle. Oh, what? Wait a minute. The truck's empty except for this big bundle of laundry. And it's locked from the inside? Nobody's in the truck. How can that happen? Exactly. Well, police got there. They start questioning neighbors. And they searched that area for 2 days around this one part of the city. Green Stamp Management made the following statement. It said, Mr. Roland is a steady man and would not have just abandoned his truck and wandered off. He'd been employed by us for 2 years. I want you to know that if you owned a business under those circumstances, you're not going to be making statements unless you truly believe that the person is who you're talking about. You don't pump somebody's tires unless they deserve it. And Green Stamp laid it out. Robert was a trusted employee, a good man, and wouldn't just walk away. So remember that. Well, there was no new information on this case for 11 days. Then on January 18th, in Dallas, Texas, Robert's wife gets a call from relatives there stating that they found Robert. Now, let's stop there for a second. In none of the articles I found did it explain how the relatives found Robert. Did he find them or did they find him? I don't know. But the relatives called Mrs. Rowland and said the following: Robert lost his memory and had a nervous breakdown. Wow. Lost his memory. Nervous breakdown. That's all it said. Fits with many of the cases we've talked about. Now, you think about nervous breakdown, and we've talked about this briefly in the past. I'll just speak of myself. If I was walking through the mountains and all of a sudden I wake up and I'm 20 miles away and I have no memory of where I was, who I am, or what I'm doing, Dave may have a nervous breakdown. I think it depends on the person, how able your mind is able to accept that you don't know who you are, where you've been, or where you've been educated, where you went to college. You don't have any of that. Who your parents are. If you were somebody who really lived a life of knowledge base, critical thinker, can you imagine if all those things were just gone? Exactly. Easy to explain a nervous breakdown, I think, in my mind, if it's coupled with the loss of memory. Now, Mrs. Roland said that they were making plans to bring Robert back to Oklahoma that following week after he got out of the hospital. Now, there were a lot of things about this story that were unexplained. And imagine, well, first off, this is important. So, Robert was working in Oklahoma City. His residence was just on the outskirts to the east. He's found 11 days later and 207 miles away in Dallas. Now, to drive to Dallas from Oklahoma City is about 3 hours and 9 minutes. Get a little closer for you. You're not going to walk that. So how did he get there? He didn't take a family car. He didn't take the company truck. There were no explanations to that. But now pretend for a second. Back in 1934, 1940, nobody was really talking about alien abduction, forced abduction, missing time. Those topics were never brought up. But what if you had a glimpse into something like my friend did? He had the recovery of the memory of seeing the UFO fly up to him on a city street. What if that memory was the last thing that you had in 1934? You're going to go tell the press that? You're going to go tell your family that? I don't think so. I think they'd think you were whack. Just saying. I wish I had more details on Robert's disappearance, but that's all I had. But it was enough for me when they say the truck was locked from the inside. I just stopped dead in my tracks. First time I've ever heard that about a trucker. And I know some of you said, well, a lot of these truck drivers take drugs and things. Yeah, except Robert went home every night. He was just a local hauler, just around Oklahoma City. He wasn't sleep deprived. He didn't drive long hauls. Next case, and I should mention this before I get into the next case. Thank you, each one of you, from the bottom of my heart, for answering the call. I asked some of you to send me cases if you hear about an interesting trucker case in your area. And I know about many cases that even I'm not talking about right now, but I'm waiting for them to play out that are just recent. And we'll talk about them if they turn out that they fit our profile. Now, this case was given to me by somebody in Australia. Thank you. I believe they were Australia. I don't even know how they'd know about it if they weren't. But maybe it was New Zealand. Anyhow, the case involves a man named James Whyte, 31 years old, missing November 16th, 2003. Now, James was a truck driver, and he was single, and he was engaged to a woman named Simone Evile. He drove a big 18-wheeler, a big Mack truck. Nice looking rig. This was his. Purple, big rig. Look at the big grating. When I was in Australia, I saw these everywhere we went because they always hit so many animals on the road. So to protect the truck, they all have those. Now, James, good man. I liked him when I read the story, when I did this up. He was coming home to Broadbeach from Adelaide. Broadbeach is kind of near Brisbane. I'll show you in a map. He was coming from Adelaide, kind of northwest of Melbourne. Now, James was born in New Zealand, and he lived there till he was a little older and actually drove a truck there for 2 years. He was last seen on Collymongle Station in New South Wales. And he called his fiancée on November 15th, and it said, Simone. He was anxious to get home. It had been a long trip, and he's getting home as quick as possible. That was the last time anyone talked to him. Now, James was heading from Adelaide, which is about right over here on the map, just kind of northwest of Melbourne. And his truck was found here, and he was heading here, out to Brisbane. And he's found in this would have been probably a route he would have taken to get home. But he's found in the middle of, this truck is found in the middle of Nowheresville. On November 16th, the day after talking to his fiancée, his Mack truck and trailer that you saw is found on a rural dirt road on a cotton farm. Strange place. His cell phone's in the cradle of the truck. The key to the truck is in the ignition. There's a half a smoked cigarette on the ground, his brand, and 2 empty water bottles were nearby the truck. And there was also a quilt and a bag stacked on the ground near the cab. Very strange. His quilt, his bag, but why it was on the ground was never explained. Well, the cotton farmer found this, called the police. The police respond out, they run a registration check on the truck. They find it belongs to James. And they find that he was far off course to be going to Brisbane. No easy explanation why he's on this dirt road, going to this lonely cotton farm. Well, the local police call for reinforcements to come out because after talking to family and talking to the fiancé, they all said, he shouldn't be there. He should be home by now. And we can't even begin to explain why his truck's there. Police say, okay, we're going to organize a search and we'll find him. So police organized search and rescue. But in November 2003, it was a severe drought year for Australia, specifically New South Wales, this area. I want you to look at James again. Just a good soul. Never used drugs. Didn't use alcohol. Worked like a dog to afford his truck and a good lifestyle. Well, again, it was a drought year, 2003, but the Australian police bring out a police helicopter, and they had firefighting teams in the area because it was a drought and things were burning. So the police end up doing a grid search of the area, and they covered it hard. I give it to them. This area right here, drought. Lots of fires, lots of bad things going on that November. So they search out to 400 square miles. No, I'm sorry, 400 kilometers. Well, Simone, the fiance, heard about the circumstances, and she made a statement to the press that this was 100% totally out of the character of James. Now, around the truck, there was just a cotton farm and a ranch that had cattle. Parents later stated that they went out and there was very, very few bushes around this area because of the severe drought. But a 7-day search and rescue found nothing but the water bottles fairly close to the truck that were later identified to be James. Interviews after this by the fiance, Simone said, I believe my fiance was abducted. He wouldn't do this. This isn't the way he lives. This is unbelievable. These type of things are hard to explain, folks. Hard to explain. Let's keep going. During the following 8 years, there were a couple of interviews given by the parents. Completely frustrated that they raised a son that was a super hard worker, didn't use drugs, didn't do drugs, just worked his lifetime to get a good living and be married. 2011 rolls around, 8 years later. A rancher who was walking his field around his cattle found a human skull and keys. Here, how got there? He finds these and he calls the police. And the police knew that James was the only one missing anywhere in this area. So they get the keys and they send him out to Brisbane. And the local police take him over to Simone's apartment and the keys work on the door. Well, son of a gun. James' keys. So the Australian police take the skull to be DNA tested. And they can't get a conclusive result. Strangely, DNA testing showed that they couldn't figure out who it was. But also the police made a confirmation that the area of the skull was trampled down heavily by the cattle. And maybe that was the problem they had with the DNA. So they got DNA from James's parents, and then they took the fragments of the skull and they sent them to a DNA lab in Mexico. What are they doing? Mexico? Really? That's your best choice, Australia? I'm telling you because I know the United States has the most advanced DNA equipment in the world. Completely automated equipment. You put a piece of skull in there and you leave it alone and it does everything. But be it as it may, Australia's Senate, guess what? Mexico comes back and says, oh yeah, it's a DNA match. Who knows if it really was? I'm just saying. Weird. So the Australian government does inquests on deaths. And they confirmed at their second inquest that James's skull was his. And they were unable to determine the cause of death because of the trampling down of the skull and such few bone fragments were found. There was no clothing found by the skull or the keys. Well, at about this time, this would have been 2011, James' parents, Jillian and Robin Whyte, made a statement. And I want you to listen to this carefully. We are baffled that the searchers couldn't find his remains 6,500 feet from his truck during a drought year with almost no vegetation. Bing. You know how many times I've heard this? I'm sorry. James was no small guy. You don't miss this on a search. You just don't. In an area previously searched. Now, I get asked this at conferences all the time. Dave, do you really think that the search and rescue team missed his body? No. What happened then? It was put there after it was all done. It had to have been. Come on, folks. This isn't brain surgery. Plus, it's found in a paddock. Come on. It means when the helicopter flew over, he would have been sticking out like a sore thumb. I'm with Jillian and Robin. Doesn't make any sense. Now, James's mobile phone and wallet were never found. Local reports for local consumption. NYPD Detective Gannon made that statement years ago. It's the best statement I've ever heard that applies to almost all missing person cases. Here's why. Police said they believe James tried to take a shortcut home and got lost. Okay. Possible, right? But then here's where it comes impossible. Then he stops on a lonely dirt road, gets out of his truck, walks into the bush, into oblivion, and is never seen again. Does that make any sense to anybody out there? No. You're a trucker. You're on the road every day of your life. You're not going to go all of a sudden and be a cross-country trucker. Especially in Australia, where there's snakes out there that'll kill you with one nip of their bite. You're going to stay on the road, backtrack out. Never said that he ran out of gas, and I doubt he did. So why didn't he just back his truck out into a place, turn around, and get out of there? Here's Dave's theory. Travis Walton. His friends are driving down a road. They see a bright light in the woods. They stop their truck, they get out to investigate the bright light, and they see a saucer. Everyone wants to leave but Travis. Travis goes up there to take a look, and he's not seen for days. To me, that kind of seems like, what happened to James? What would cause him to get on this lonely dirt road way off course? Unless he was following something that really intrigued him. And then what if it hovered real low to the ground, real close to the road? Would you get out and look? Hey, I'm sorry, I'm an idiot. I would. I'm sorry, I would. So he gets out and he checks it out, and something happens. I have no idea. I'm not even offering that as a theory. I'm telling you that's what happened to Travis Walton. But the police just saying he just wandered aimlessly into the bush, that's completely garbage. I don't buy that. In 2012, New South Wales closed this case. Let me say, Australia has every type of case of missing person that we have here in the US and Canada. Everything. The disappearances there mimic what's happening here. Now I'll go back to what I said earlier. Why Australia, as big a country, as far developed as it is sending DNA to Mexico to be tested is bizarre. Why don't they have the same machines we do? Come on. So anyhow, I have great compassion for James's mom and dad. What they were faced with was horrible. But I don't appreciate police making up idiotic, stupid statements to appease the local people. Oh, there's nothing going on here. Just some crazed trucker gets out of his truck and wanders into the bush and dies. Do they think we're all idiots? Now, I know that's a small percentage of police. But here's my story. Here's my advice to police and rangers. Start showing some respect for missing persons cases. There's a lot more to these than I ever understood when I was a policeman. But I want you to just look at the facts. And I want you to understand that something very odd is going around here. And just say, we closed the case and there's nothing more we can do. Well, you might want to hold on to the case and see if there's others out there that maybe match the same scenario. Just like we did here in the Truckers series. Please put this on your social media. Share it around. I'd appreciate it if you did. And if you can make comments now, maybe it's been cleared up by YouTube, please make a comment. If not, I'm working hard to get the comments cleared up. But you can always send me an email at CanAm, like Canadian American, canammissing@yahoo.com. People get upset because they say, oh, he never responded. No, I never said I would respond to every email. I said I'd read every email, just for clarity. And if you make a comment, I read all those comments too, and I respond to a lot of them. People get upset that I don't respond to everybody. It'd be impossible to respond to everybody nowadays just because of the enormous number of people we get involved. And I'm grateful. I'm really grateful. So I hope you're having a good holiday season, because I think about you guys. And keep your mental health secure. Love your family. Do a favor for somebody who's maybe has less than you. Thank you. Paulides out.